Today I want to share with you something that I've learned while I was working on a project a few years ago. So I've chosen this quote that well represents to me what perspective means. The author of the quote is a travel blogger and also author of several books. And I traveled in different countries and in different continents, not many as I wanted though. I've enjoyed beautiful places. I know how gorgeous is nature. But most of all, I enjoy people. So their habits, their food, and in a single word, their culture. This is some pictures that I placed there, just to say that I think that experiences that we live will influence our perspectives in the good and also in the bad sometimes. And there are several things I think that influence our perspectives. For example, the first thing that comes to my mind is that we all have unique personalities. So we see the world through another kind of shades. Apart from that, we speak different languages also, so that also influence our perspective. And that's something else. In fact, when we born, we have to learn basic things to survive. The first one, I think, is to breathe. Learn how to breathe. Then there is another one that comes immediately. Maybe you can guess it. If not, this is a suggestion. Sorry, Janice, to enter in my presentation. But I don't like cats, basically, so I wanted to put Janice in this funny slide. So we have to cry. So we have basically to learn how to communicate with people around us. And we can say that language influences our perspectives in a certain way, and it is strictly related to cultures. So where everything started, as I mentioned, I've worked on a project a few years ago, and the project was to create a marketplace, basically an Amazon, for Pakistan, for the Pakistani audience. So even if I travel, even if I think that I already have broader perspective, and I'm always optimistic to learn something new, that wasn't enough for working in this project. Thanks to this opportunity, now I think about the technology world and also interface design in a different way, from a different perspective. First of all, this is something that we don't often think, but it is there. It's actually all the benchmarks that we have in terms of design on the web, on technology, are born and bred in the Western side of the world, even though they are addressed to people from all over the world. So this is the first thing that made me think differently about the technology world. Then I bumped into this data, into this information that says that 95% of behavioral science research subjects, so participants, are basically live or comes from the Western side of the world. For the user interface design, this is an important information because the user research really rely on this kind of study to create their testing process. So the user research is influenced heavily by this truth. And so what I realized is that having one single perspective makes it harder to question your assumption. That's true while you are on work, or that's true in real life, in different aspects of the life. And it's when you have limited perspective, is easy to fall in biases. We all have biases. Biases is our mental shortcut. We need to, our brain needs to have that. Those happen to be totally bad, but they are there, and if we are limited, we have to use biases a lot. For example, you want to open a parenthesis about about the virtual assistant, let's say that. So if you were an Apple user until the 2019, and you wanted to ask Siri this kind of question, Siri will answer you, "I blush if I could." I mean, I think that any woman could think to create that kind of answer. That's because women in technology, in many fields, actually are less than men, especially in leadership roles. So we could get this, and not in like the first century, but until 2019. And also, if we think about the names of virtual assistants, and if we ask to AI to create the face of Siri, is always, of course, a woman. Then we have names, another name that is pretty female, Alexa. And then we have Google, which is pretty neutral to me, and but I don't recommend Google Assistant because you can't understand anything. I have one. So it's just a parenthesis. This one to let you understand how perspective really, how close perspective, so not broader perspective, really influence many aspects of the technology. So there is a relationship, between culture and language and design. Because of design is a form of communication, so I think that is strictly related to the culture and the language too. So I've taken 3 screenshots. These are the official tourist websites. One is the Italian one with the influencer. The other one is from Pakistan, and that one, small one, is for the state, California state. And as you can notice, they are pretty different. First of all, on the Pakistani website, this is the home page. It's really visible the face of, I don't know if he is the Prime Minister, I didn't check, who is the Minister of Tourism. That's why Pakistan on the power distance level, cultural level, it's pretty high. So that means that they need with imagery and also with the language, they need to reinforce the authority status, no? In fact, even the language, even if it's English, if we look at the headline that says the contrast of spellbinding grandeur and sheer simplicity. It seems like a poem to me. It's still English, but the use of word is very different compared to the Italian one, which is a mix of Italian and English, and compared to the Californian one, which is really playful, no? So how do you like to play? It's like California, it's a big playground where you can have fun, no? Then also the use of color on the Pakistan one, the green color, maybe it's not well visible, but it's that kind of green that we in the West associate to nature, and so also to green labels, no? To ecological labels, sorry, not to green. Instead in Pakistan is in Pakistan and not only in Pakistan is the green is associated to the Islam. And Pakistan is an Islamic republic, no? So these are just few examples. Then I've taken these 2 other examples. These are 2 marketplaces. That one on left is Target. It's really popular in US. And as you can see, the design is pretty minimal, even though it sells a lot of products, not all the categories are exposed. The menu is pretty simple. Instead, on the other side, there is Taobao, which is a popular marketplace in China. And at the first glance, you can compare to that one. The design seems more cluttered, and everything is exposed. So you can browse through categories and products in different ways, because there are two kind of menus at the top. Then there is a small one on the right side, and it's a common pattern for website for Chinese websites. And then there is another one again where you can go through the categories. No? So the information density is pretty different from that the other one, or even Amazon, let's say one. If I take Amazon, which is a global brand, the platform is always the same for all the countries, basically. But we can notice, again, some details, some differences. There are really related to the culture of Amazon. In this case, there is Amazon US, there is a product page, really like the Italian one, and then Amazon Brazil, that is very similar to the original one, but it has 3 icons that are there to reinforce, to give reassurance to the customer, no? And also on the Pakistani marketplace, we had to create something similar on the checkout pages on the checkout flow. We had to put there a label that says basically nothing, but just says, okay, we accept all the payments. Payments are secure. Go ahead, conclude your purchase. And this is these icons can make me think about the level of trust, no? That in some cultural dimension is higher than other cultures. So, for example, in Brazil or Latin America in general. So there is the culture of communication is a complex topic, and I'm not an anthropologist, I'm just a designer. I pretend to be an anthropologist sometimes. But an American anthropologist, Edward Hull, tried to simplify this concept. In fact, he created a framework that kind of help us to understand what I've said so far, and also to understand how to communicate or collaborate with people around the world, if we are working with people around the world. And nothing is set in stone, so it's just a framework. See that just as a framework, but it can be really helpful. I've highlighted with few flags some of the countries there, just because they are related to things that I've said so far, and we will see later. So as you can see, Edward Hull divided the cultures into big groups. One is low context, the other one is high context. The low context one, in the low context group, let's say the communication is more direct, more precise, and the message is very understandable. In the high context culture, instead, you have to skill yourself to read between the lines, basically, the lines. Because the communication happens on different layers. So even if we think about the screenshot that we have seen, for example, on the marketplace, no? The target marketplace, the design is a US marketplace, was pretty minimal, call to action pretty clean, and less context, I'd say. In the Chinese marketplace, Taobao, we have everything exposed, so more context, more information, many things that clutter the page. And I wanted to pick this example because it's nice and well represent all the differences, no, that the languages and cultures have. For example, the word that is in the center, and it exists in Italian, French, and Spanish, is sottointeso. And this word, this exact word, doesn't exist in English. You can say sottointeso in English. If we literally translate that, is like under the earth. It means nothing, basically, no? And this is just to say that some cultures actually also have words that represent to read between the line. You know, I say one thing, but I mean another thing. So that's something that I wanted to highlight. Instead, in the eye context, for example, the Japanese one, which is the highest context culture, eshi means both leg and foot. So you have to understand very well the context to understand which part of body we are talking about. Same thing in Hindi. Kal means both tomorrow and yesterday. So you have to be very skilled and to talk Hindi language to don't fall in misunderstanding. On the other hand, there is, like, let's say, the philosophy of the low context cultures, let's say in a nutshell, that is tell them what you are going to tell them, then again, and then what you have told. Yes, it's like and I don't have the English name for this kind of joke, but it's pretty difficult to say that. And we can, behind the language, there is the history, no, of countries that have, of course, a strongly impacts on the way they communicate. Again, if we take US, they have a short shared history, and the country is shaped by immigrants with different backgrounds, different languages, and so different cultures. So they are very skilled in communicating as clear as possible to avoid every kind of misunderstanding. Instead, in the eye context, like Japan has a long shared history, is an archipelago, and they were, let's say, isolated from the world, no? And so they are very, they are great to read in the air, basically, between them, no? So to not say something, but to understand what you are not saying. And this is a phrase, a quote by Senongo Appem, who is the author of Cross-Cultural Design book, which I really recommend you, because there are many examples design related, but maybe you are also interested to dig more into this topic. And something that I realized when I was working on the project is that even more when I was working on the project, but because the results were tangible, is that when you mix your perspective with some other perspectives, you get the most beautiful thing that can be an effective marketplace, in my case, or in real life, can be anything even more important than creating an effective marketplace. So after today, I hope you look at websites and mobile apps with a different point of view, with a different perspective. So, thank you. The link, you can find a list of books that I recommend you, especially one which is related to the communication, so it's not design related, and also articles, and also you can get my contact. Thank you.
Thank you, Michela. I don't know if someone has any questions. Maybe not. Maybe later. You can find us and Michela both on the social networks.
Yes, of course.
So you can reach out later. Our next event will be on 24 April, 24 Aprile, at 9:30 at Giacala in Missori. So new location for April 2, and we are waiting for you there too. So if you want to stay a bit more and network and chat with Michela or with yourself.
And coffee.
Of course. Have more coffee, have more Pandoro, have more Easter Pandoro.
Yeah.
You are welcome to stay. I know there is also the public transportation strike, so maybe you are trapped here with us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for Fiorier Charlie, and thank you, Michela.
Thank you.